Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm learning an opening in one sitting, then trying to defeat a 2000 rated player with that opening. Let's dive in. Alright, we're on chessreps.com, the sponsor of today's video, and my go-to site to try and cure my London addiction. Let's see if I can broaden my palette a little bit. You'll see we've learned the Stafford, we've learned the Jabava London, we've also learned the King's Indian, and frankly my most proud opening that I've learned is the Ruy Lopez. Very, very thick, very dense, a lot of theory, but very satisfying to get a win in. It's a pretty dynamic opening. I believe they're also adding one new opening every single week, so I actually see a couple of new ones here that I play myself, or at least did at one point. We've got the Caro Khan, which I do play now actively. We've got the Sicilian, which I played for a very long time, especially in tournaments, high stakes games that I'm trying to win, and the King's Indian, which I still do play sort of kind of, but usually it's some sort of variation of it if I'm playing against a weird opening. I'm looking around to see what else we have here. Oh, this one looks fun. We've got Counter the Vienna Gambit, destroy kids who took the free Vienna Gambit course on Chess Reps. You know what? Fair enough. And then we've got its twin over here. Well, we did a Gambit last time. Last time, I believe we did the King's Gambit, so I'd like to play something more of a normal opening. We could do the French. I haven't played the French in a very long time. I'm vaguely familiar with some of the lines, but 26 sounds like a lot more than I ever learned. Lock your bishop in jail, then spend the rest of the game proving it was all part of the plan. Actually, I do remember that part of it. That c8 bishop tends to suffer. Okay, just because it has a funny little catch line, we'll go ahead and play the French defense. So we'll go ahead and select that course. Now, the first thing we're going to do is get exposed to all of the lines. I'll go ahead and zoom through this and give you my thoughts at the end. Let's learn the French defense. I've had enough of these e4. I agree. I'm done with these e4 pawn players. I don't know if the French is necessarily the cure to it, but it's time we stop them once and for all. How do we do it? We start with e6. All right, I will see you guys on the other side of theory. Okay, with that, we've learned all of the theory. I think the most helpful part is the concepts or the patterns that show up time and time again. For example, this knight showing up either to go to f5 and target d4 or to back up the knight. The pins seem to be a pretty common motif. c5 is easily the largest one. It's in at least half of the lines, targeting d4, trying to break down the center, and other stuff like castling early and whatnot also comes into play. And there's some early ideas of queen to b6 as well. But my point is that those patterns are what make it easier to remember the lines, other than just sort of remembering this move, then that move, then the other move, so on and so forth. All right, with that, we've seen every single line at least one time. Now it's time to practice and actually see if we've memorized all of the lines. I'll see you guys then. Okay, with that, we've perfected all of the lines. At least we've practiced them to perfection, meaning they throw a random line at us and we know all of the moves. I'm pretty comfortable with this opening so far. The variations that I learned are a little bit different than what I used to play. For example, this very thematic b4 idea, pinning the knight, is not something that I normally went for. I believe the variation that I used to play had like c6, bishop d6, almost resembling London, which is probably not surprising to anybody. The next thing we're gonna do is head over to drill, because we've now practiced the lines, but we really wanna make sure that we've got that ingrained in our brains. And since this is a relatively new opening, I think I should be able to make my way onto the leaderboard. The daily I will definitely be able to make my way onto, and perhaps the weekly as well. Let's see if I can get myself at least top 3 in the weekly leaderboard. You'll see that I will play out one of the lines. I'm explaining this hoping that I don't mess this up. I don't think I will. Takes. We'd like to develop with check. The bishop blocks, which means that white is no longer defending the pawn, which means I can take. Check, threatens the king, threatens the bishop, but I can develop the knight and cover both. Okay, cool. And as you can see, I'm now on the leaderboard in 16th place. Let's see how high up we can get. We need one more to break into the top 3. Actually, we'd tie for top 3. I'd kind of like to beat number 3, not tied for third. Knight to f6 is the line. Knight d7, you want to target the center, bring more pieces into the attack. You want to trade, you want to develop your bishop, you want to castle early. White will go for the queen side castle. Opposite side castle is always fun. Okay, we're now tied for third. We don't want to be tied for third, we want to be in the top 3. So we play d5, we target that center, we bring the queen out to place more pressure on d4. Same thing with the knight. Bishop to e2 means we take to simplify in the center, and then we reroute this knight to e5, looking to put more pressure on that pawn. It's actually really helpful to say this out loud. Now we can just take the pawn. So we'd like to trade queens if possible because they're castled and we are not. So we take with the queen, and with that we do get 10 correct. I'll keep going to see when I actually fail. Who knows, maybe I can even get first. All right, knight to c6 is the idea here. We want to target this bishop and trade it off. Sweet. Who would have thought that practicing your opening would help me remember it? Interesting. All right, we'll take, and check with the idea that we win this pawn and then support the bishop with the knight. So far, so good. good. The knight comes out first, which means we do the same and drop the knight back to d7, preparing c5. This unfortunately doesn't really work because it stops defending b2, which means we go after it right away. We'll play e6, d5. Early bishop d3 means we can take, and we're going to try to get them to waste some tempo with the bishop. We'll play c5, bishop to e7, and that's the end of the line. We're targeting d4 there. We'll play e6, d5. Knight comes out to d2, which means we break open the center. It's kind of hard to defend that pawn now. Go ahead and trade. And is this knight to c6 first or knight to e7 first? I believe this is knight to c6 first, and then knight to e7 to defend. Okay, nice. We're at 15 now. This is pretty darn good. Play d5. I have like a couple key lines that I struggle with remembering, and then the rest I'm pretty solid in. We'll take back with the queen, grab me a pawn, queen to d6, which I remember because it looks a little bit awkward. And now we're focused on developing, right? Because they're fully developed and castled, and we're not. Luckily, in the time it takes them to mount an actual attack, we get a trade, and then bishop to e7, we're ready to castle. They get e4, e6. I say we get e4 like that's new. We'll play c5. I think we just take and then play that same check. The knight goes back, which means we can develop, and I believe we just castle out of the way. Final move here is this bishop that is dead weight on c8. We want to put it on that long diagonal. So bishop b7. Okay, we're at 17 now. We're actually super close to getting number 1 here on the weekly leaderboard. We'll play d5. Takes, this is just the exchange. Again, we'll try to target that bishop. They stop us this time. And what follows here? I believe it's just bishop to d6 because we want knight to e7. So bishop d6 should be good. Okay, nice. We're now tied for first. e6, d5, trade. This is the symmetrical variation, it seems like. Nice. And that is the end of the line. Even Steven. Really can't ask for more than that. Playing as black, we'll play c5 to target the middle. Queen to b6, knight to c6, stacking attackers, reroute the knight, targeting d4. That drops b2. And then we focus on developing and castling out of the way. So far, so good. It's really crazy how helpful the little blurbs are. We're now easily first place. What's the all-time leaderboard looking like? Holy smokes! Okay, all-time is a lot higher than weekly. We'll do one more line here. I feel pretty darn good as is, and then we'll head over to play a game on chess.com. Knight to d2 means we play c5, take with the queen, take with the bishop, and we'll stop the run there. We're at 21. I challenge any one of you to go out there and beat my weekly score. Absolute best of luck. All right, moving on to an actual game. All right, for the game, we're going to play 3-0. It's just pretty much my most comfortable time control. I'm rated about 2050. We should get a similarly rated opponent. Hopefully they play e4. Please, e4. Nice, e4, e6. First game. Didn't have to wait at all. That's perfect. f4. This is a sideline of some sort, but we're going to try to play into the same ideas anyways. So I believe with knight to f6, we might even be able to get a sort of transposition. Oh, perfect. Now we just get d4, c5, and we're pretty much looking at the same line, just this pawn is a little bit behind. Play knight to c6. I suppose it doesn't allow for me to capture, but we know that the idea is to castle kingside and go for a queenside attack. Not to mention d4 here is actually quite interesting. In the meantime, I suppose we can just play b5. We have ideas of bishop to b7 going onto the long diagonal. We start marching up the queen side, and we grab a little bit more space, which is always a good thing. We'll play bishop to e6 for the time being, and bishop goes back to f2. Okay, this is going to be a very, very positional game. We'll play queen to c7. It's pretty much cat and mouse. We're both waiting around in the center, right? They advance on the king side as we advance on the queen side, and it's sort of a game of chicken to see who wins that attack. I'm gonna play bishop to b7. I'm looking at e5, so f5 is not possible anytime in the near future. I mean, I just have a ravenous attack on that square at the moment. And beyond that, even d4 ideas here, looking down at the rook, looks pretty darn comfortable to play. It's not clear how this knight develops. I suppose knight to a3 would be the best way, but then there's just a6 holding on to that square. Knight should probably reroute to c2, and then at least there's queenside castling ideas. But then again, you castle into the attack, we get bishop g2. I'm not gonna lie, h5 here looks really, really fun. Now that's just me speaking. We're pretty much out of the opening at this point. That's just me coming up with attacking ideas, which is pretty much in my blood at this point. We'll make a little bit of a waiting move. a6. If they castle kingside, h5 is definitely incoming. Even if I end up losing that pawn, it just looks like a lot of fun to play that. Okay, knight to a3, right? So we've already defended that square. b4 here is also really interesting. Possibly to force a trade, maybe get the knight involved. It's not necessary though, so we'll continue with knight to b6. Still grabbing some space. They still haven't committed their king. Neither have we. So again, just looking for those little positional improvements until the game sort of clarifies a bit. We get knight back to c2. Okay, we're gonna go for it. h5. If they play g5, we close the position with g6. Okay, nice. At least we've now clarified the position somewhat, right? We get h4, and this side of the board is pretty much dead. So we get d4. I suppose I should trade because I don't want to lock up the entire position, right? They trade as well. We'll continue to trade. We now have knight to c4, which seems pretty comfortable. And b4 is probably just the most natural move here, trying to open up the queen side even more. Nice. We have a weakness on c3 now that we can target, and we're gonna have to reroute this bishop as well. So bishop to a6 stops the knight from coming in and also sets up a discovered attack. We'll have to fight for the open file in just a moment as well. And we're both approaching a minute on the clock, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that as well. I would argue I'm probably a little bit better here. Not by a huge amount though. There's still plenty of chess that needs to be played. Right, queen goes back to d1. Let's go ahead and challenge the open file. Knight to b2 is an interesting idea. Grabbing the exchange. Right, they move the rook out of the way. Let's go ahead and just trade and force our way onto that open file. Queen slides back over to c1. Let's target the queen. Slides over to d1. Is there any way here that I put more pressure on c3? I guess knight to b2 should do that, right? Now we're looking at it with the queen. And there's ideas of knight to d3 takes, looking at the bishop as well. Queen comes up to f3, which definitely allows this idea. We can either take the rook or we can take the bishop. Again, one of the thematic ideas in this opening is to get rid of the bishop pair for the white pieces. And actually now we're the ones with the bishop pair. Go ahead and penetrate the second rank. Ooh, knight goes back to defend seems really suspicious. d4. Lots of crazy ideas here. Even the queen looking at the knight there. We're both down to about 35 seconds. I might have to shut my trap in just a moment. This works because we get the queen. Nice. Maybe I won't have to shut my trap. Maybe I can win this anyways. I should hope I can convert this without having to stop talking. Right, we're pretty much just looking at grabbing any one of these pawns. We're also a little bit up on time, so we're quite comfortable in this position. Just have to be sure that there's no funny tricks here. We'll play check. 12 seconds left for the opponent. We'll play here. Stops the pawn from any weird ideas and targets the rook. Ooh, which pins itself. So now we are threatening this pawn because the rook doesn't actually defend if it's pinned. 3 seconds left for the opponent. Not a lot to do in this position. We'll go ahead and just take. 1 second left. And with that, they do flag and we win our very first game with the Caro-Kann, with the French defense. So yeah, that was pretty darn good. Let's go ahead and check out the game review. I'm genuinely curious if I did as well as I think I did. Oh yeah, we definitely did. Holy smokes, wait a minute. How do I pop this up? I need you guys to be able to see this. There we go. Okay, now I just need to bring this down. Nice, we played really, really well actually. If you look at the graph here, we were pretty much even, right? Which is at least the goal with the black pieces, right? You want to at least get out of the opening even. Apparently this wasn't exactly precise, but you want to get out of the opening at least even, and then you can just play real positional chess thereafter. We played with 88% accuracy. I cannot ask for more than that, and with 0 blunders. 13 inaccuracies though. I guess the engine does not appreciate my style of play. But yeah, with that, we do get our win with the French defense. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Go check out chess reps down below, and remember, if you want to try to beat me, you have 2 days to do it on the weekly leaderboard. In the comments, recommend what other openings I should learn, and I will see you guys in the next one.